everybody. How are you doing this evening? And again, I'm doing tech duty here as well, so I might be distracted from time to time. We got Randy and Russell showing in the chat so far. I'll just get things sorted around on my screen here. So how's everybody doing this fine Saturday evening? Joseph? Lagrange? Here we go. Greg, Hope, Russell, Ed. Sorry, Lagrange. Alex. So I can't keep up with and mentioning everybody who joins, but thank you for joining. Regardless, I'm doing bored out of my skull. Well, I'm glad we can invite you in and have some chat, bee related or otherwise. Should be loosely related to bees, I suppose. But what's been going on today? Anybody? I had an interesting day. I went out to a friend's place. They have an extracting line for sale, and I got a prospective buyer on my chat on my phone, and since he's a little ways away, and looked around the extracting line, talked to the owners, got the lowdown on the thing. So it was neat to see and nice to see them again, and it was a nice way to help out with just very little effort. With technology the way it is, it's pretty easy to do. Norman, thank you very much. Be well as well for yourself. Thanks for kicking in. I really appreciate that. Yeah. So that was good, and I got a good visit with him. We were on the chat, just the two of us, for well over 2 hours, and nice to catch up. Haven't talked to him in quite a while, actually. So yeah. Vlog video came out this morning. Quite a few people watched that. I've got some comments and questions about it already, which was always nice. Quite a few comments on those little push-in cages that I made last week. Those were well received at the Bee Club. Thanks, Alex. Hit the like button. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, Bee Club meeting was good. We had our provincial apiarist speak to us, update on the summer, and also we had our tech transfer leader here in Manitoba. He spoke to us about how this summer went for the tech transfer programs, and so that was very interesting and always nice to see everybody. Always nice to stand around and visit at coffee time, and even go out for coffee later for a few of them. So that was kind of nice. So, not much going on bee-wise in my life. You can see the bees are tucked away in the building. Of Sawmill Charlie. Good evening.
Hey. I had to finally figure out how to get in here, but I got here.
Oh, yeah?
I it went through AOL, and I don't know, it wanted to start a whole new StreamYard thing, and I'm like, no, it's not what I want to do. I'm not sure.
AOL, that's still a thing? AOL?
Yeah, I still use AOL. But
Holy
anyway, I
cow.
figured it out.
AOL. Geez, that brings. Hey, Norman, you remember AOL? I remember AOL barely.
Yeah, I still use it.
Yeah, Doug, it was a very nice day to be out. Very nice day. I sat, I sat on the road, chit chatting with, and I'm not going to give away who, but you all know who it is, with the buyer, and we talked for the longest time. And I sat at the end of the runway for a municipal airport, and I watched all the students doing their touch and goes, um, on this beautiful day, and I could see the windsock at the airport. It was pointing straight down, and there was completely calm, and it was beautiful sunny skies and a warm day. I mean, warm for here, um, and all these little airplanes just going over probably once every 30 seconds to a minute. Uh, One of those airplanes would do a touch and go.
So, how was that
Joe,
extraction unit? Was it decent shape or nice looking,
it's
or
beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful.
was
Yeah,
it
it's in
was
my
it
opinion, it's
I
perfect.
guess a complete intact unit? You know, as far as a unboxer, uncapper, then you have the spinning
Yeah,
unit or the extraction
yeah,
unit, and then it
yeah,
pushes it
and
through to
it's
a kind of like Ian's, where it pushes it through to that rack where it holds the frames and all.
it's actually in most respects it's exactly like Ian's,
Uh-huh.
and where it ends though is from that sump that you're talking about, where all the honey and all the wax and stuff go. Um, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no pump or anything. So he would have to then get a pump and get a whatever he's going to put in there, whether it's a spin
Because
float
like
with heat
Ian, it had
exchanger or whatever
that
else.
auger in that slump where it churns it.
Now that's custom. Ian built that.
Oh,
That paddle
but
thing that you see in
yeah.
there, that's Ian built that. So this is exactly the same. It doesn't have that paddle part because that's just something Ian built,
So the
just to keep
wax and the
things
honey
mixed
all
up in.
goes into the slump, and then after that, it goes through a pump, and then it in the Ian's it
Right.
went through a heat exchanger, I think, and then over
Yeah.
to the Cooks and Beal. So this doesn't have the pump. So okay, so
Yeah,
basically
that was St.
the
Andrews. Yeah. Sorry, Charlie, cut you off.
yeah. See, I oh yeah. So basically, it's a complete intact machine except for the accessories like a pump and stuff like that.
Pretty much just the pump. And the one thing it has that Ian's doesn't have is at the beginning where the boxes come in, on Ian's system, they lift the boxes up on the rollway, and then
Mhm.
they have a kind of a funnel system where they go and they scrape the top bars and whatnot,
Right.
and all that trash falls down into a bucket
Hop.
or whatever. They
Yeah.
actually have a little air compressor. If there's some bees, they can blow the bees out. But this system, what it has is it has a really, really long rollway, and it'll take, what did we count? That it'll take probably a good 10 boxes on this rollway. It's very long. And in the middle, it has a thing that I'd never seen before. And it's funny because I always thought that, you could build one of these. All you'd have to do is this. And this is exactly what I figured you could do. It's the boxes roll over top of an auger that's about this big. It's maybe about a 4-inch auger, but the auger is sideways. And so what it effectively does is this auger scrapes the bottom bars sideways as the boxes roll over it. It just the box kind of humps up over it, and then the auger goes up in under the frames a little bit, and so the auger scrapes sideways on the bottom bars, and then there's a catch basin under that where all that trash would go down there, and then it continues on, hits the end, and then it goes sideways over to the deboxer. So that's something additional.
So the auger
Really neat.
blades actually go across the bottoms of the frames and cut any burr comb off the top there. Yeah,
That's
that's
right. And he said that they do make, and it's a Cowan unit. He said they do actually make one that has an auger on top as well to clean the top bars as well.
hmm, I've never seen that.
So really nifty. He says it works perfectly. I'd never seen one before either. Maybe I should have taken some pictures of it, but I didn't.
Well, it sounds like a pretty nice unit.
It looks like a very nice unit. It's a tidy install. It's not beat up at all, like at all. And it really, because these people haven't had that many hives for quite a while, then it's lived a pretty easy life. It wouldn't be all worn out at all. The only
Sounds like
probably the
a.
biggest difference.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that probably the biggest difference between, because people have seen Ian's line on
Mhm.
his channel quite a bit. With Ian's is this one has, when they load the frames into the extractor, there's
Mhm.
a hand crank to do that. Well,
Mhm.
this one has an air ram to push
Yeah,
the
I
frames
like that.
in.
Yeah, I've seen
Uh,
that.
Also has the air ram to open the door like Ian's, and also when they go to push the frames in, they have to manually pull a lever to lock the rotor into the rails, which again, this one has an air ram. So you just line it up, hit the button on the air ram, and it clamps it all together, and then you can push the frames through.
All right, so
So
it lines up
a little more.
automated. So it
Yeah,
raises
it
the
just
lid up. It lines up that the basket, locks it in, and then it has an air ram to shove the
yeah,
frames
like you
in.
have to obviously do all that still. You need to open the lid. There's an air ram to open the lid, just like Ian's has,
Yeah,
and then you need to align the rotor with the track,
right.
and then you can hit another button, and then that locks in with an air ram. It just clicks that in,
I think
and then you
Ian
can hit
said
another button, and
made
it
mention
pushes it
on one of
along.
his videos. You had to watch about your fingers, them little, where it locks into that snap. It's spring loaded or something like that, and it was don't get your.
Well, we can ask him.
Uh,
Hey guys,
Hey,
hey,
hey, boss.
how are you doing?
So I was
good.
good. I was looking at that extracting line at Mark's today, and looks like a nice
Oh
unit.
yeah. When you're
Yeah,
talking there, I was trying to figure out where did you go? I was trying to
yeah.
decipher all the little details you're giving. I was that's
Any idea?
Smith's.
Any idea what he was flying?
Cessna 172, or is there 52? I forget what it is. One of those smaller two-seaters.
You don't? Do you know
Okay.
what color? Because I can't tell when
Red.
they're going over me. Red.
He flies a red
Yeah.
one and a white one.
Okay. There was a blue
Yeah.
one I was watching because it was a tail dragger. You don't see a tail dragger very often.
No, he's not on that one yet. No, he's having a heck of a time. He actually he come out later on today, and we went out hunting this evening, and he was showing me in the hunting shack. On his phone, his instructor is teaching him how to stall a plane. So he has his
Yeah.
camera like this, and he stalls a plane, and they're going down towards the earth like this, and I'm like, goodness
Yeah.
gracious, sirens going off,
Balls and
and
fins.
my heart's in my throat, you know what? Oh boy, yeah, he's having a
Bob
good time.
Walker, good evening.
G'day,
Thanks for
Bob.
Hey
coming in.
guys, good to see you. Who's that guy with the
So
red
Norman says,
stained flag behind him?
yeah, I found him on the street.
Hey, and there was a party foul yesterday, Ian.
There's a what?
Brad is operating Kraken outside of the regulated Kraken zone.
Uh-oh. It's not Kraken season yet.
That's right.
It's not Kraken season.
I tried to
Well,
stop him
I
to
have an
check his
excuse.
Kraken license, but he didn't have it on him.
We're stocking up
there's
in
a
all
clause there.
the goods, and there's a certain amount of things that Sandy uses in this vegan eggnog, and so we're filling up the freezer, so we're getting ready for it. I
Good
don't.
plan, good
The reason
plan.
why I use vegan eggnog is just to bug my brother because he's a cattleman, right? So I'm telling him,
Yeah.
drinking some vegan eggnog under. He throws his phone across the room.
It'd be even worse if he was a dairyman.
Oh boy.
Hey, Melanie. Yeah, Norman was saying, yeah, what did he say? 152 is a very small two-seater, he says. So
Two-seater,
there is
yeah.
152. So anyway, I don't think I'd know a Cessna from it. Well, the one I do know is a Stinson. I can pick out a Stinson because that's what my dad flew. But that's all I know about that. Yeah, stalling is terrifying, Norman says. Well, I always wanted to do that, and I never did.
My brother, he flies for Air Canada, and he flies in and out of Winnipeg all the time because he's based out of Winnipeg. So he flies over St. Andrews, and he says he sees the little guys doing little circuits on their training.
Yeah.
He said
Yeah.
he was once there, but he said it's pretty cute. He said,
Kind of like my honey crop. It's a cute little honey crop.
Well, from what I've seen, you get some of these commercial guys in some of these smaller craft, and things go wrong pretty fast because you got to stick fly the thing. There's no computers helping you.
Yeah, you gotta get ready for it.
Yeah,
so that St. Andrews Airport's a busy little airport. They have they still have military aircraft fly into that airport. They have choppers flying in, and some larger aircraft landing in that facility. So his dorm is right beside the. Oh, sorry, I stepped on you.
Oh, sorry. No, that's sorry.
His dorm is right beside the tarmac, so he sees all the traffic that comes in and out, and the choppers that come in. He says pretty loud, wakes him up in the morning. But neat.
Oh, he's staying out there, so he's serious.
He's serious, yeah.
Right on. That's great. Yeah, a lot of the northern communities fly out of there, and fishing lodges and whatnot. Yeah, it's a lot of otters and beavers, and a lot of the traffic comes over. You watch my videos and you hear the airplane. That's where they're coming from.
Oh, is that right?
There's a seaport. There's also a seaport at Selkirk that they fly off the Red River, so the float planes come off of there quite a bit. So they go right over here. Yeah, it was busy. Boy, I was sitting at the end of that airstrip, and they were taking off both directions. So it seemed that the I don't know what to call them, commercial traffic, but the bigger planes that were going to the northern communities and whatnot, they were taking off north, and the other touch and goes were going west. There was no wind, so they could do whatever they wanted. And I was sitting there, and I could see 4 of them in a row at any given time. One coming, one landing, one taking off, and one going over me.
Yeah,
they were decked right up there.
Yeah. Make sure busy airspace.
Yeah. Air traffic controller was not taking any naps.
So Charlie, was it 18 degrees again today?
Let's see, 18
right now. Right where it's 17 degrees right now where I'm at.
And let's see, it was right around 60 degrees, which is about 16 Celsius, something like that. They were flying today and all. I mean, not much, but some.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be getting some rain here about Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, and it'll get back at, I'll say, around 10 degrees Celsius during the daytime, and then let's see, I don't know, let's say around 2 degrees at night, something like that. It's warm. I mean, it's kind of warm. Well, you got snow up there from the videos I see. You got at least a foot of snow.
Yeah, not as much anymore. We're starting to lose it because today was, what did today get up to, Brad? I think it was like 9 degrees it got here anyways.
6. My weather station says 6. I don't know what the official was. Beautiful.
And tomorrow they're saying 9, and then 11 on Monday, and then start getting cold on Tuesday. They're talking 0 and -7, and then -21 is lows, -20. Yeah, -10's a high. So hopefully we get into nice cool weather again.
We were
so damn muddy right now.
We hit 23 today.
Oh,
So, but there's got to be some nectar out there somewhere because I put out an open feeder. They didn't touch it at all, but I put out the dry pollen sub and they were killing it. So no pollen and plenty of nectar, it looks like.
Yeah, I just looked at the weather for the week, and it's going to be, let's say 13 Celsius throughout the week on average. But a lot of the nights are going to be around 1 to 2 degrees Celsius, something like that. 35 degrees F. But
Yeah.
that's, I mean, even for us here, that's a little bit warmer than what we normally would have. And then, of course, I know Todd has talked about this El Nino thing where, like, your area is supposed to be a lot warmer, and it seems to be playing out. And it may be here also. So, I don't know. I hope, sort of, kind of, I hope it doesn't. I want to go to Nobby out there. Hopefully, it won't snow when we go out, get out that way, get out there and back.
Yeah.
Without any bad weather. Because I'll be driving.
I'm just hoping my bees make it through this stressful winter we're having right now.
Yeah, right.
I was in short pants today, Brad, all day long. Short pants and a t-shirt.
So was I.
But I usually don't do that in my yard, right? Even when it's warmer out.
What were you going to say?
Short pants. I was in t-shirt.
What were you going to say, Ian?
Oh, I was just going to mention before I hopped on here with you guys, I walked into the winter shed just to see how they're handling it. And it got up to, it's 7 there. I'm not sure what it got up to in the shed there today. Probably the same as what is outside. But it was 7 and there was hardly any bee drop this time. The last warm spell that come through before we had this snow, I had quite a bit of bee drop and a lot of live drop. And I'm not sure what.
Yeah, what about that? You had your hands in that, in the wheelbarrow there with them live bees. Are they gone or dead, or are they flying back, or could they fly back? Of course, they can't see nothing.
It was weird. When I swept them up because I had some Chilean beekeepers come for a honey house tour, so I wanted to clean the place up. So I swept up the floor and put it in the wheelbarrow, and I was looking down there. And typically in the spring during warmth like that, the wheelbarrow is live because there's a lot of live drop because of the warmth. But I looked down, and everything seemed stone dead. So then after the Chilean bee, they were here for 3 hours. Had a really good talk, but I went back in there and the wheelbarrow is just moving like this. It's like, oh damn, what's that all about? So I actually went and put a box, like a nuke, on top of the cluster, the moving cluster, and I caught a frame of bees. So there have all the bees kind of churning around in there, almost like zombie bees. I was able to capture a frame of bees from that. So I'm going to keep them in that, and I'm going to keep them just on the side to see how long those bees live. I bet you they live right to the end of winter. Those will be winter bees. Or, no. Yeah. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the live bees that were in the wheelbarrow that are still moving but didn't crawl up. I think those were the bees maybe just at the end of their life flying out. And the ones I captured, I think maybe those might have been the ones that flew out just by accident, because first off, we had a delegation walk through winter shed, but because they're warm and active, I'm going to see if those bees make it till April. If they did, then I knew those bees were casualty. And if they don't make it for another 2 or 3 weeks, then they would have died anyways. Wouldn't have made a difference.
Right.
Kind of follow my train of thought on that one.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if a bee, how bees are as a collective, where, hey, I'm sick, I'm not going to stay here and infect the rest of the hive. I'm going to go out and die, for the betterment of the hive. And I think that's what you're saying is even though they're still alive, they're leaving the hive for the betterment of the hive, and dying somewhere else so that you don't,
Could you set them on the landing board and let them beg their way back in?
I tried that. I put like a scoop, just a garbage pan scoop of crawling zombie bees on the floor, but at the base of one of the colonies that is bearding a bit, and they were just they weren't really doing anything but just half alive. That's why I call them zombies. They look just like zombies. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that they're like you say, they know they're dying and they're getting out of the way or for the rest of the hive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Outside, they would have been in the snow or something like that.
yeah,
In the shed,
exactly.
I would have found them the next day dead on the floor. But I did capture a frame of bees. So those might have been casualties because the shed was too warm.
Right. And all that. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, so what did the delegation, they just visiting or were they there for some other type of meeting in your area?
They're trade, like they trade with Canada in
Mm,
regards to bees. And there's this one commercial beekeeper, he had 4,000 colonies, and he was thinking about getting into the package business. So he's trying to diversify his income because the price of honey is really low in Chile right now. It just had break even. So he's looking for different avenues. So he come up to Canada with another honey importer, exporter, some broker guy. So he had connections. He has business up here he was doing. And he come along and he wanted to see what the makeup of the beekeeping countryside was like. And he wanted to talk to a beekeeper and ask some real plain, direct questions on what what beekeepers are looking for one thing. Like he's asking, when do you want these bees? If you're going to buy them, when do you want them? Just other things, or what do you see as problems with this? Isn't new. We've bought bees from Chile before. He said, what are some of the issues that you've seen as a beekeeper up here that we should be acknowledging back in Chile? So I thought that was interesting. He's looking for some
mm.
feedback that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, that was like some of your where you had bought those different queens and from different places, and some of them were hot, and in your mind, it's like you should be trying to breed a nice bee or a calm bee, instead of being a hot bee or a queen is what I'm getting at. And I presume that's what he's trying to ask.
That's what they're trying to do. G'day, Todd.
Hey, Ian, how are you?
Good.
Hey,
That's
Todd.
what Canada has been trying to do. We've been trading with Chile for a little while now, and they're very closed border because they're scared to death of the Africanized bee. They don't have it in Chile because of the
Really?
mountain. Yeah, the mountains keep it away. It's in South America, but not in Chile. So their borders are clamped shut. And what the
Good.
Canadian beekeepers wanted to do was to send down some Canadian drone seamen to help produce like a Canadian bee, so then we can access those Canadian queens when we need them in spring, because they're just a flight away. It's a pretty direct flight.
Mhm.
But they will not let that down there because they're scared stiff of the Africanized bee, even though we don't have it up here in Canada.
And what have you ever gotten any of those types of bees from that country, or
Yeah, I used to. Yeah, they were
what
black
were they like?
bees, little black bees, and they maybe a little bit spicy. They were honey producers. They were good. They seem to swarm a little bit. It's, half one way, half a dozen the other. So I never did continue on with that. You know what he did tell me? A really interesting conversation before. I let you guys on with the rest of your conversation, but he was sitting here talking, and he's 4,000 colonies. He said, how many guys do you have? Like, I had a translator. So he said, how many colonies do you have? And it's 1,500 colonies. Okay. He asked me, how many guys do you hire? And I said, I have one full-time person. And then through the summer periods for 2 months, I hire 5 or 6 school kids. And he looks at me, he says, that's it? And I said, yeah, that's all I hire. So he's 4,000 colonies, and he says he hires 25 employees. And he said he needs that many guys because he moves his colonies 18 times a year, all the way up the mountain, all the way down to pollination and everything. And they lift every single box, whether there's honey boxes on it or not. I'm like, do you see that easy loader I have there? You should buy 3 of those and you do well. And I said, a tractor is cheap too. And you palletize everything. What's wrong with you? And he told me, he said, these workers are cheap workers. I think he said Peru. Is Peru like kind of like a poor doing country?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he said Peru, and I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure. But he said he gets his workers in from Peru, and he says he doesn't pay him hardly anything. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh, you're just like a slave labor. But he said, Ian, if I bought a tractor or if I bought those easy loaders, that's a lot of money. And he said, if I bought those pieces of equipment, there'd be 15 people here without a job and those families would be starving. Can you believe that?
Yep.
And I just sat back, was like, wow, that's a perspective you don't hear very often up here, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
Like
Yeah, I knew one guy.
survival.
He I guess he was in Central America, and his wife is she was like, I'll say an Inca Indian
That's right.
from that area, and he said you could hire say a housemaid and stuff like that for $5 a week, or something like that, and that was big money for them.
Yeah.
They were having, they were happy in order to get that kind of money and stuff like that. But yeah.
What did they produce for honey there, Ian?
Yeah, I was asking, and he said roughly 100 pounds of honey. So this is what his season looks like. He chases pollination. So they go to almonds, and they go to cherries, and they go to I forget what other plants, but there's about 3 or 4 times he moved for pollination. And he said the pollination, all the revenue with that broke even. So then he said the honey was their profits, and he would produce, and they chased honey all the way up the mountain, all the way down. So they really worked for it. And they were looking at like 90 to 100 pounds of honey. And he said he's getting $1 a pound for it.
Mm.
And he says, we're just making it, he said. Yeah.
$1 a pound.
$1 a pound. Well, $2 a kilogram. So it's a kilogram. That's
2.2 pounds.
2.2.
Oh, I can't be right.
What's that? $2? What did you say?
$2 a kilogram. Yeah.
Well, that's $1 a pound. That's just under $1 a pound.
That's under $1 a pound.
Yeah.
90 cents a pound. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy,
Well,
that's tough. I said we're getting paid. Let's say we're getting paid. Let's pretend last week we're getting paid $2.20 a pound times 2.2. I said we're getting paid roughly 5, and his eyes were like this. He said, "Woo, that's a lot of money."
Now, question. I went to a little bit of a bee meeting here, and I got a friend of mine. He's got about 80 some hives, and he's trying to scale up to commercial. When did you go? We're talking about lifting hives, okay, on pallets, or when did you get to the point, or what did you use? I'll say prior to your easy loader, did you have set a forklift or a skid steer or something, or just did everything by hand for a while?
Yeah, I did. Well, I did by hand right off the start, and I bought one of those little. You see, commercial guys use them all the time. Little Charlie kind of. They clip onto the hive, and you tip it back, and you move it into place.
like Brad's got sort of.
No, not
Probably
quite like
similar,
that.
but not powered, Ian?
More like a barrel cart. Like
Yeah.
it's a kind of, you see a lot of commercial guys use it as they're filling in empty spots before they go to the almonds. They switch on to pallets and switch off the pallets.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You can move a hive around, but you can't lift it. Really.
Can't lift it. No.
Yeah.
Right.
So then I used to use my brothers, and then I bought this thing, and I called this thing my brothers because my brothers, they wouldn't come help me anymore. So I went and got my brothers to help me move. Just an inside joke. And then I bought a skidster and a trailer, so an LX 465. The thing would lift about 1,100 pounds, and I palletized everything. So that then I could move my colonies around, and then that's when I started moving my colonies indoors, because I was able to move my colonies indoors a lot easier. And then the yards, when we were using fume boards and blowers, we'd pull the box off, blow it off onto the pallet, and forklift onto the truck. So we did the typical commercial style until we adopted the easy loader. Yeah.
No, he was talking about he wanted to get into pollination and stuff like that, and he's tired of lifting boxes, individually. And I'm like, and there's another guy right up the road from him, and I said, that guy's got 300 hives. I had his son do a presentation for us.
Oh,
And
nice.
they're into pollination, and they're lifting these things by hand. I said, this guy's nuts, you know. And I said, either a easy loader or a Hummer bee or something, you know.
Yeah.
Or
And
2 dozen Peruvians.
Yep.
yeah.
Well, yeah. If our government would let that.
Yeah.
So then there was
Can you imagine that, Brad? If we could hire guys just for a dime a dozen, that'd be something else.
You'd need a bee truck and a school bus.
That might have come across wrong. I didn't mean to sound it the way I made it sounded there. I was thinking in my mind, you know, hiring these guys and then providing money for their livelihoods. I wasn't thinking when I said that, I wasn't thinking about hiring these guys as slave labor.
But the
then-
logistics,
yeah.
like I say, you'd need a bee truck and a school bus. You seriously would need a school bus to move the crew to the yard.
Yeah.
Yeah, 25 guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so he Jason with Bohemia Bees, he has a pollination trailer, and where he mounts the bees hives to it. And I told him, I said, I know where Jason got that one. There's some other trailers. So I said, I'll see if I can hunt them up for him. But
That's a
I
good
don't know.
idea. It's like I know a neighbor here. He come from Russia, and he employed that. I think he had like 20 trailers or something. And it's easy because you have the colonies on the trailer, and then you simply just hitch on the trailer and move them wherever you want to go. Right.
Mhm.
The problem was then you got to deal with the damn colonies on the trailer. So you're up and down off these trailers, and it became such a problem. He has an easy loader now. He's
Is that right?
palletized. Yeah. The thing is, it's
Yeah.
$50,000. It's a lot of money, right?
It is, but it's
So-
like your dad. It's like your dad told you, Ian. Can you buy a new back for $50,000? No.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
and you can't buy one for $1 million.
A kingdom for a back. Yeah, that's what he says every day.
You know,
Yeah.
so
The-
I mean- that's
Those-
justification for me.
those Hummer bees that they have on the Facebook, what is it, commercial beekeepers page. I was looking at one the other day and I found it. It's a 2016 Hummer Bee Turbo. So it's got a Kubota turbo.
Nice.
It's got 768 hours on it. And they get this. It's 7 years old and they want $58,500 for it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I saw one that was 20 something years old that the guy wanted 20 grand for it.
Yeah.
I don't care. You know, brand new.
Well, I know my friend, he bought a Hummer Bee, and he goes to what's it called? AHP, Honey Packers of America or something like that. Anyway, the dealer guy was out there, and he happened to have like 4 or 5 of them. They all came from one. Some guy had 4 or 5, traded them in and all that. And they were not very old. They didn't have the hours on them. And with the trailer to go with that thing, it was 40,000, I think, something like that. But it's like brand new. I mean, they paint them, they check out all the hoses, you know, it's completely going over. And all, and I said 40,000, you know, and he says, well, he said, really, I would have had it 10 years ago, because he's doing nukes and reboxing. He says, I can pick up a pallet of nukes, and instead of me bending over, all I have to do is stand there and rebox them from wooden boxes to cardboard boxes to retail and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
The Chinese knockoffs are about 16.
what's that, Doug?
The Chinese knockoffs are about 16,000.
Yeah, Phil has one of those.
Yeah.
And I watched his video, though. He had some wiring problems, I think.
Hydraulic problems too. I think he's got it figured out.
Yeah, that last video, I think that's what he said. But yeah, those things are getting out of hand. I mean, a Hummer Bee or a Swinger is, you know, big money now. And Chinese can, you know,
And then you have to add a trailer.
well, yeah, that's the
Right.
thing with the Chinese. They don't. It doesn't come with a trailer. But on a Hummer Bee, it's all it is a single axle, with you
Yep.
know, a drop deck, and that's it.
Little
That's
tilt bed. Yeah.
yeah, tilt drop. Yeah, so you know, there's
Yeah.
not much to it. It's basically what it's carrying is the cost. So,
I was going to say, Doug, I found your YouTube channel. I
Oh,
was going through, and there's a recommendation, so I clicked on it, and I seen one of your yards colonies is stacked as high as the sky. And I was thinking that guy must have an easy loader. So I went and checked another video. Oh, he's got an easy loader.
you know, our loader is from Spain, Apajunida.
Oh no, that's right. Yeah, you got that. Yeah.
We priced the easy loader, but this one was 33,000 versus 56,000.
I got to pick your brain. How do you like that machine?
Very,
You gasp.
there you go.
Okay.
Next
Now I'm
question.
set.
I do the same when someone asks me about the easy loader. Yeah.
Here's the $26,000 worth of.
it worked good with a couple of supers on it, but we found we were lifting 4 supers at times, and
Yeah.
it would want to spread. They never had a decent bar across the bottom to keep your forks in line.
Okay.
So I contacted them, sent them a video. Now they've made a upgrade for it, sent me that. We put it on. I think that'll fix it.
Okay.
Other than
I was
that,
gonna- yeah,
it's
how
been
about?
pretty,
I think
pretty
the level is superior on your unit. I was over at the guy that sells it here, and I was just trying it out, and I was like, "Whoa, this is a treat! This thing just follows you around all over the place." So sometimes the easy loader, you're just out a little bit, and you got to fight to make it work. How does it lift 4 boxes? Is it other than the cradle? Does it, does it
no
struggle?
problem. No, not a bit. No.
You know,
It's-
what about that level? What do you mean? Where you level the boom?
Yeah.
For swinging it?
Yeah, it's got to be level. Otherwise, if it's at a level like this, you're pushing uphill, and that's hard
Okay.
when you have like.
Oh
300
yeah. Okay,
pounds
I
right
got
here.
you now.
So
Yeah, I
the easy
understand.
loader it's mostly level. You'd think you'd be able to put some gyro system in there somewhere to get the thing true level, but it's always out just about. And I'm not helping myself either because my truck's not rigged. So my truck, when you put a heavy load on, the whole truck kind of goes like that too. So half it's my own fault, but I have my kids on it anyway, so I just I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, so it just goes out a little bit. But I noticed when I was using the other one, it leveled the entire time you're working with it. Do you leave it in that? Do you leave it in auto level all the time, or do you have to turn it off because it drains the battery?
No, we leave it in auto level all the time.
Yeah, boy, that'd be a treat.
Our biggest problem, we had truck trouble, was our one of our problems.
How so?
Just fuel problems that quit running on us. So
Oh, not to do with the loader or anything.
yeah, nothing to do with the loader, just the truck.
Yeah, that's a problem when you have an easy loader or what you have, because when your truck goes down, everything's down. You have a tractor, you can, or even if I had it on a trailer, then I can hitch another truck underneath it, right?
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to look up at the Kankade loader?
I've seen it. I haven't actually used it. I know the guy who builds it, and I know the guy who's buying one, but I actually haven't had a chance. And it's pretty much an easy loader. Just they were so pissed off. The owner used to own an easy loader, and he's so pissed off the level system that he built his own. So I'm anxious to see if he's able to make it a little bit more user friendly. But that said, I have absolutely no problems with my easy loader. Like, I work the thing like a horse. It's a good unit.
Yours certainly gets a workout.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The only thing I've seen with it is that right where the knuckle, pin is or whatever, you have to rebuild that. It seemed like a
Yeah.
cave
And
thing.
I have a stress crack there again. So that I'm taking that whole thing apart again this year and taking it back to the welder to get done in the same spot. There's my welder, like the off-farm welder, he's a structural engineer also. So he's going to
Plate it.
reinforce it or something just because I do, maybe I overload it. I'm not sure, but I really do put a lot of work on that arm, so I'm not going to fault the arm at all. You know, that's one thing I was scared of, Doug, was the way you see me working the arm. Do you think the one that you have would be able to handle the same type of abuse?
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, I think it would, Ian. It's well made,
Hmm.
but you know, proof of the pudding's in the eating in the end, isn't it?
Yeah, time will tell.
Yeah.
Do you use a 20-foot extension very often?
A little bit, not a lot. Usually around the 16.
Yeah.
But
How about,
the 20 was nice when like our one of the yards wasn't set up for it at all, and we needed that extra 4 feet was much appreciated.
yeah, and it takes your lifting capacity away too, the further out you go, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Does it limit you with your lift when you take it out to 20, or do you just have to, make sure you don't lift too much that far out?
Yeah, we wouldn't have anything that would put it over the weight it would handle.
Yeah. I should look into that again. Yeah.
I think at 20 feet it'll lift 600 pounds.
Oh, that's a ways out there.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Is that low or high, or is it more what you can do, or
That's
what?
more than
Ian?
the easy loader.
Yeah, I do 660, 16 out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
20 out, it's another 4 feet. That's, if I had the option to go 20 out, I'd be using it all the time because we get so lazy to move the truck. Now I would just extend it to 20. That would be my problem.
Then you'd be looking for 24,
There you
30.
So we have to redo a lot of our yards because we've had it in a single row. We need to split that row now so we can boom to both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, I have mine both ways. My crew likes the yard on both sides. I like one straight line just because it looks prettier, but that doesn't mean a lot. The ones when you have the colonies on both sides, the yard does get done quicker because it's more efficient with your time. You just one side, other side, move the truck one side, the other side, we're gone.
Yeah. I use a riding mower in the yards. That's when the long line is nice.
Yeah.
So, Todd, you were I think the latest one in. What's going on in your world?
Not much. The weather's slowly changing. For you guys up north, it was about 16. It started raining. It was supposed to rain all day today. It didn't start raining till about 10. So I popped out there to the farm and just checked things. I didn't pop any lids. I just looked at traffic, and every single hive except for one was looking very healthy. So, and what's funny is I'm seeing 3 different colors of pollen still. I don't know where they're getting it from. It's white, yellow, and orange. The orange might be dandelion because the recent light rains that we've had, the dandelions have come back. And usually Mother Nature is kind of screwed up around here because the weed that starts in the spring for me is dead nettle. And dead nettle's blooming. And it never blooms in the fall. It was 65, 68 degrees here today at the highest point. But yeah,
I think you'll find that's yellow or white.
Yeah, so I saw white coming in, so I know that's probably where it came from. The yellow, I'm not sure, but the point is, a lot of it's still coming in. So
you got brood going on.
Yeah. Now I'm worried about feed, so I'll probably, I'll probably have to do the old hive check back end. Lift up the back end, see where everything's at on the hive weight wise, and then do some open feeding and. That'll be that. I hope. Well, I hope I don't have to do it, but I probably will. I left quite a bit on there though, by mistake. So we'll see. But other than that, that's about it. And the rain Charlie was talking about, that's here right now on the West Coast. It's going that way.
Well, I caught Bob's live today. He had a pretty good day out selling some honey.
Yeah, for my front yard, pretty good. $500.
He didn't burn much gas.
None.
No.
Well,
Making
whatever it
deliveries.
took to get from the backyard to the front yard.
What's a Ford? So it's probably only about 6 to 8 gallons, eh?
Yeah, 6 or 8 gallons. 7.3 liter. So,
Well, that's good. That's good to hear.
So what was your? I know you sold. What was your reaction to your cream honeys and stuff?
well, here's the thing. So at first I had it all on the table, right? And people were just buying runny honey. And then I finally opened my mouth up and said, hey, have you ever tried cream honey? Have you ever tried hot honey? And then once I started making them taste it, literally, oh, you've got to taste this, right? And it's, here, I got a spoon, put some on the spoon. They taste it. Oh, that's really good. I'll take a jar of that and a jar of that and give me a Snickers and a peanut butter. And, oh, yeah, we still want $60 of runny honey. Great.
Nice.
No problem. And what really surprised me is until the very end, everybody was just paying cash. And then all of a sudden I got 2 credit card at the end. And that's the other thing, the credit card machine, people will buy extra if they know that you have the card machine. Oh, well, I only have $20. Oh, well, I take cards if you don't have enough. Oh, well, in that case, give me one of those and one of those. And, here's your free dippers you can get with it, which came with the jars that I put it in. So it worked pretty well. So it was a good honey day today. And I don't do it. I literally put the table in by the road with my sign that says local honey sold here. And I sit in a chair. And as people go, I just wave to them as they're going down the street. So they look over and, oh, what's he selling? Burp, pulls in honey. Great.
So, Bob,
Beautiful.
Is it a remote credit card machine, or what do you use?
So I use my cell phone to tether it as a mobile hotspot.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, but it is. It's a square. I don't have it in here right now, but
Square pay.
Yeah, it prints a receipt out if they want it, or you can text it to them, email it to them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen those at restaurants. Pretty slick.
It's $300 is what I paid for that, but it has made me more sales. It is paying for itself slowly in additional sales.
Yeah.
So, and it's a tax write-off, so it's always good.
Tax write-off. So just
But
write it off. You just write it off.
I'm serious. But so
What's your fee on that then per sale? They'll charge you a fee too, right?
2.6 plus 10 cents.
Okay.
Something like that.
Low.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
Yeah.
I think out of $100, it was $95 and they owe me 93. So I'm paying $2 out of the whole deal. So not bad at all.
And at the risk of sounding like a commercial, and I can't say that Square is better or worse than anything else because I've never used anything else. But the thing that I really like is there's so much more you can do with Square Pay besides just accepting cards. It's a complete POS system.
Mm-hmm.
You can handle all of your inventory and sales. You can link it to your live real time to your website, all this kind of stuff. You can even get your Facebook business store real time integration if that's what you choose. But nice thing is that if you don't process a credit card, you don't pay a dime.
And I like the fact that as I'm selling in there, because I have every item broke down in flavor and size and all that, it'll tell me by a report exactly how many of each item I'm selling. So I can tell if, well, cinnamon cream honey is selling better than peanut butter or something, It's pretty impressive from that aspect. But it's
we really like it as a system.
So how are you going to adjust the inventory right now, Bob, with what you did today?
So I didn't actually put an invoice no level in there, right? So it's not going to tell me I'm sold out or something, but I'll know if I can't sell it because I don't have it. I just can't ring it in, right, when I'm typing in their order. But it's pretty easy. I mean,
you could set that up on like per item. You can track inventory or not. I don't really track inventory, but you could, and that's mostly helpful so that if you link it to your live online store, that then once you've sold, once you get orders for your inventory level, then it'll say out of stock. I don't have that store, so it doesn't really matter. I know what I have. It's not going to magically sell out on me because I'm the guy doing the sales.
and you can also use Stripe to like send an invoice via email or something like that with items so they can pay it and you can ship and stuff like that. So it's been really helpful. And I mean, today was just a great day. The weather was nice sitting out there. Not really any hurry to sell my honey. A lot of people I noticed, and I get a lot of comments on those videos is, oh, I've already sold all my honey out and I was selling $16 a pound. That's a good thing. However, my goal is not to sell out in 30 days. My goal is to make my honey last 12 months until my next honey crop. So when that customer comes, I'm not saying, no, you want to check with the guy down the road because he's got some honey, right? I want him to stay with me. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get him to stay with me and not go other places. But
there's that too. That's valid for sure. There's a lot of people call me certain times of the year, early in the calendar year, in the spring. Do you have any honey? It's like, well, yeah.
It's what we do, right?
I manage to, match my production to my sales pretty closely. So I do have honey all the time, but I guess I shouldn't take it for granted because some years it's pretty close.
Yeah, so I don't get in a rush. I know my thing is when the honey crop is brought in and a lot of people that have just a couple hives. I mean, I've only got a few hives, right? But that have less hives than me, let's say. They'll sell all their honey out really quickly. And that's fine. Good. Sell it. Because then when you're out, guess where they're coming? Yep. And I'm not going to let them go back to you. So have fun. Get your money while you can, because once they come here, they're not going back. Because I'm going to have honey the rest of the year. So that's the game plan. So if you live near me, better step your game up. No, I'm just saying.
There's nothing wrong with friendly competition, right? As long as it's civil. I don't mind people competing, but sometimes you see some folks getting
I could always buy some
little bit
honey.
Just hire a bunch of Peruvians.
We're open 24/7, our honey store right in the front yard. Could put a tent out there.
Exactly.
And give them a nice cot, little wood burning.
If I lived down the street from you, it'd be like the Hatfield and McCoys. We'd be going back and forth.
No, we wouldn't. Yeah. We would be like, hey, I'm running low. Do you have any extra? I don't make a lot of honey, right? But what I'm trying to do is explore ways to make more money with the honey that I have. So people ask me, well, why is the small jar $10 for specialty honey is what I was calling it, right? Compared to the regular honey. I said, well, there's ingredients. It takes time. And so I can split a bucket in half and make as much on a half a bucket as I would have on a whole bucket. So that's just kind of my philosophy. Is it better or worse than anybody else's? Probably not, but it's what works for me, And if you're wondering what I'm doing over here, I'm taking a page out of the Ian Steppler playbook. I've got the football game over on the other monitor there.
See.
So I'm watching the home team play over there while I'm
thanks, buddy,
chatting on here. Yeah, I've got it muted though.
Oh, that's good. Not like last time.
It's hard to gauge how much honey you're going to sell. That's one of the problems.
Yeah,
This
Yeah,
fall, I
yeah.
did 6 barrels of creamed honey. I thought that would do us till spring. We're just about out.
Ooh.
I'm probably going to run out of honey this year.
The I had someone call me today and said they saw one of their local beekeepers was selling 5-gallon buckets for $200 and already bottled, unlabeled jars of honey for $6 a bottle. He's like, I could just buy all this, guys, and resell it and double my money. And I said, well, but first he said, how can I compete against that? I said, you don't. You buy all of his honey and put him out of business, and then you sell it all and make all the profit. And, oh, well, that's a good idea. I said, you know, you could do a fundraiser. Like, he works with the FFA, right? So I'm like, you could do a fundraiser with the FFA. Buy the honey and jar it up, put your name and address and everything on it, sell it to the FFA at a reduced price so they can resell it as a fundraiser, and you're doubling your money, and they're making money for their program, and everybody wins. And he's like, hey, that's a good idea. And there's 5 more chapters I could call, and I could probably sell it all out. And I was like, sounds like a business model to me, because next year when they need a fundraiser, guess who they're coming back to? You. So
No, my youngest daughter was active in the FFA for all 4 years in high school. She just received her American degree this year in Indianapolis, and so she was recognized. There was actually 14 kids in the chapter here that got their American degree. Only 1% of all the kids in the FFA nationwide stick it out that far. It's a lot of work. She had a steer project. She had a boar goat project. She finished out her requirements at a horse training facility where she was training roping horses. But my point is this: those kids are the future of agriculture. I'm still active in the booster club here for this chapter, but if anybody out there has a chapter at a nearby high school, if there's any way that you could help those kids out, donation, time, volunteering, something, that would be excellent, because each chapter needs help, and those kids are, basically the agricultural future. And any bit of help they could get would be awesome. And that's all. I'm off my soapbox.
but there you go. There's your 24 Peruvians.
Yeah.
24 FFA students in the bee yard.
I wish.
They actually, at this this high school right here, is just down the street. It is one of the, I think it's one of the best ones on the in the Western U.S. It has its own 10-acre farm. They grow, they have almonds there. They grow peaches, plums, nectarines. They have vegetable gardens. They have they have 2 barns. They have a swine barn. They have a steer barn, which the goats share in there. They need another barn, but they also have a horticulture, big horticulture barn. So these kids are really learning a lot. Plus, it's the only one around here that has a metal shop, a full working metal shop. They have kids in there welding all day after school, and then a wood shop. So these kids get taught everything, and it really comes down to donations, volunteering time to help the chapter out. So again, if anybody can do that, that would be awesome. I know they would appreciate it.
But it all causes cancer in California. That's why they need donations.
you just turn your head and plug your nose. Then you'll be all right.
That would be the great state of California.
Yes.
Little girly man.
Yes.
Come on.
But yeah, it's a tremendous program for kids, and they're so hardworking. It's amazing to see them. I mean, my daughter was out training her steer for the fair a couple years ago. Hours every night. She wouldn't get home until like 10 o'clock. And then when she had market goats, she got the reserve grand champion at the fair, and she was doing that market goat out on the show arena they have there. all night. I mean, they work crazy, and all those kids were out there doing the same thing. So they're really, really, good kids, and it's a good. They stay out of trouble. That's the big thing. They're not, they're not drag racing down the street and stuff like that. They're doing stuff productively, or productive stuff.
Yeah, that's important.
That's nothing.
Keep
So
people
I didn't
busy.
mean to take over the show there, Brad, but
No, that's great. That's a worthwhile endeavor right there. And Norman put up a comment that he was certainly glad that you mentioned that he was looking for an organization to support. So maybe
that'd
we
be
can get
awesome,
them some
Norman.
more
Thank you.
support.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Speaking of
Well-
that, you remember when Justin Ruger from Accessible Beekeeping was on Tim and Hannah's. So today, every kid that came with their parents to buy honey, I gave them one of his books that I bought when I said, to help him out.
Is that what those books were?
Yeah, the
I
green
noticed
kids
carrying
book.
those.
Yep. So every grade school age child that came, I gave them a free copy of the book. So if I was smart, I would have put a label on it or something that had my information on it for the parents. But
Of course.
they had to settle with the honey jars, honey labels. So it was a good day for sure.
Well, that's awesome. It's always nice to hear whatever endeavor it is, at whatever level, that that things you can actually make some efforts and make a positive impact, whether it's the FFA and training young people, or sitting in your front yard selling honey off your tailgate. That's what it's about, really. It's
I
making a
stepped up
difference.
the game now. I got a table now.
You do have a table now. I was
bought a
thinking when I said
table.
tailgate, I thought, oh no, I'm minimizing what Bob is doing because he's actually got a table.
I have a table now.
That's awesome. I don't really have time. I know that if I lived on a busier road, I'd get more drive-by traffic, but I know friends who live on a fairly busy highway, and man, they sell a lot of honey out of the yard. It's just incredible.
Well, the other thing is that I post on social media, right? So I'll post me making a batch of creamed honey in the flavor, right? And that gets a bunch of posts, or a bunch of likes and everything. But then when it comes time that I'm going out there or setting up, then I'll either do like a live video on Facebook, or I'll post up, I'm out here, and you know how you can check in, right? So I check in from my bee farm so they can click it and see where it's at. Yeah. And then I share that in a local group, and if they post it right away, then people will start coming out. I don't use the tripod.
Not a tripod guy.
Kind of like you don't use your beehives. Oh, too soon. Got to check those things once in a while, late.
Well, you made $500, Bob. I'm wondering what you're buying next.
Yeah.
Well, so I have this whole, I call it beeconomics, right? So the thought for me is, how can smaller beekeepers afford some of this equipment, right? So I kind of do things like, if I flip things, right? So flip bee stuff. I'll flip queens. I'll flip nukes, right? So I got a friend that sells 3-frame nukes with a mated queen for $100. So I take my honey money, and then I buy 3-frame nukes, and I put them in a pro nuke with 2 extra frames and feed them, let them draw out the frames. And then I resell those nukes after 2-3 weeks when they've built up and broods hatched and they've gone through a cycle. And then I'll sell it for $200. So I'm taking my honey that the bees made, that profit turns into nukes that I then flip and double that money. So, which allows me to, and I graft queens and stuff like that. But
That's just take an opportunity. Remember, Ian, the story that Randy told about his sons. They sold all these nukes, and they made, I don't know what it was, $10,000 or something, or $20,000 selling nukes, and but they had 100 queens left over. They didn't know what to do with, and Randy took all the money and spent it on bees from Keith, and then he took all the bees home and he dumped them all over the ground. The boys just about shot him right there.
You're like, what are you doing, Dad?
Took all our money and then dumped the bees on the ground. But he took the extra queens, put them in empty hives, lined up all the hives along the yard.
Let the bees pick their queen.
How many pounds? 300 pounds of bees or something?
No, I think it was like 500 pounds of bees that video said.
Dumped them in all on the ground in front of these hives, and because they had all these mated queens in the hives, all those bees just went into the hives and set up shop, and then they could sell those all over again. So they turned that into another whatever, probably another $10,000.
Opportunity knocks, right?
Yeah.
You have to be a little resourceful sometimes.
Well, you got to have guts too, because how many people would have guts to blow 10 grand on bees and then dump them on the ground?
Well, it's like playing blackjack, right? You start with $25 and you win. So now you got $50, and then you bet $50 and then you win. Eventually, you buy $1,100 in queens and they all die. That's what.
Absolutely, you're absolutely
That's
right.
what happens to me. So
sometimes it don't work.
But had it worked, well, then I would have had 56 nukes to sell in the spring that had overwintered. And, then I would have looked like the superhero and not the bum,
I want to put Nikolai up here. He's commented. I know that he's been commenting and watching my channel for quite some time. I really appreciate him watching. And he's a beekeeper in Ukraine. And as you know, they're struggling. And I know that we all wish them all the best in this. And I know each one of us wishes that we could have a much more profound impact on their well-being.
Send me a ticket. I'll come over and kick some Russian ass.
Did
fine.
you read that comment that he put up earlier? His bee yard got shelled.
Yeah, he said that.
Oh,
That's crazy.
You guys think we're
I can't
having a
even
bad
imagine
day?
that.
I mean,
You think you're having a bad day?
Yeah.
Have a Russian shell blow up your bee yard.
Blow up your
That's a bad
apiary.
day. Yeah.
Finally found something worse than a hive beetle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't have any hive beetles left, I guess.
No, it'd be my luck. That'd be the only thing that survived. It'd be a bunch of pieces of wood with hive beetles on it.
Hive beetles on that.
And the mites are hanging on the hive beetles, waiting for the bees so they could jump back on something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how it would go, for sure. But I'm always, I don't know, mystified, or I'm impressed with Nikolai's ability to look at the positive things. And, I can't put myself in his shoes, really. I can't imagine that situation.
Oh, sirens.
That's a honey police.
Bee police coming to get me
Selling too much honey.
for creaming honey. You beat the hell out of it. You're going to jail, sir.
Honey abuse.
Honey abuse. Oh, I did get a guy though. I'm like, you like hot stuff? And I let him.
Oh
taste
yeah, tell us about that.
I let him taste the.
Flaming starfish.
I let him taste the milder fresh honey, fresh pepper honey, right? And then, oh, that's good. I said, do you like really hot stuff? He's like, oh yeah, I do. So I just opened up my little sample jar and let him stick his pinky in. But he did like
put your safety glasses on first.
Yeah.
Eh? Okay.
Oh, hold on, let me get my gloves on. And he put his finger in that and put it in his mouth. He's like, oh yeah, that's real hot. I even asked him, "You got a drink in the truck before you try this?"
Yeah.
No,
no,
I'll be good. Okay.
Okay.
Let him try it. It was only the hottest
Arms-
pepper on the
arms
planet
length.
until this year. So it's
You tried. I'm not going to eat that stuff.
Todd and I had a good conversation about the hot honey process too.
Yeah.
So using fresh peppers. So I'll be interested to see what yours tastes like when it's done, Todd.
Well, I told you about the garlic. The garlic honey is, holy cow, it is good. It's really good. When I taste it, I just think of pizza. I don't. It's just like that. It's really, really good. So, but it's runny, so I have to leave it. I have to leave the lid cracked on it so it can dehydrate itself a little. But yeah, it's really good.
Dehydrate, stir. Dehydrate, stir.
Bob, a wise man once told me spice should enhance a product, not dominate it.
Right. Well, I mean, you know how they had that one chip challenge, right? So I've been telling everybody to come try the one drip challenge. And believe it or not, it sold pretty well. I mean, when someone bought one hot honey, they usually bought the other one to go with it. So
if I had that, I'd have flames coming out of me and not out of my mouth either.
I like the fact that doing it makes me $20 a pound on honey instead of $10 a pound on honey.
That's the way to do it, my friend.
There went Ian.
Kids are playing.
Oh, he said he has to jump.
But
yeah, that hot honey is certainly getting popular around here. I keep hearing people talk about it. So I think
they do have it. I mean, there is hot honey in the store. It's Mike's hot honey, but
yeah,
it's not really the same.
I gave some to my neighbor, and he says it's so hot he had to dilute it in more honey, and it was from the leftover peppers of the hot honey I gave my youngest brother.
And the longer it sits in the jar, the hotter it seems to get.
We have a steakhouse that buys our honey and makes their own honey garlic mix. And they're nice enough to advertise on their menu, you know, made with Longman's honey.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice.
That's what you want.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
That just gives you more talking points when you're talking to someone too. Did you ever eat at this restaurant? Yeah. Well, their honey is. If they probably what did they use it for, like honey butter and stuff like that, Doug, for their bread or something?
I imagine it's used in the barbecue. There's a steak pit that you can barbecue on, and I imagine that's where it's used.
Yeah, that stuff is pretty potent. That's what I should do.
Pull on the whole face and strap it up.
Put the mask on, put on the goggles.
It looked like you're in the Breaking Bad kitchen.
Welding goggles.
It's good, but a little will go a long way with it for sure on that. But it is a really they don't have creamed honey here either. It's very much a learning lesson for people here. So if I don't tell them, explain to them what it is and let them taste it. If I can get them to taste it, it's done. Sold.
Yeah, for sure. Something different. And no, I don't think there's hot honey in any store. I've never seen it in a store.
They carry it in Walmart here, everywhere.
Hot honey?
Mike's Hot Honey is what it's called. Yep.
Really? I've never seen it.
We can't find creamed honey anywhere, but
is it
hot
in the
honey
section?
What's that?
Is it in the honey section of the store?
Yeah, it usually is with the honeys. It's called Mike's Hot. And that's their whole business is hot honey. That's it. And they make one hot honey as far as I know.
Ooh.
Let's see. Trying to read the comments here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike's isn't hot like the Reaper for sure. I think they just use crushed red pepper in theirs.
Well, anything else interesting going on, guys?
Mm,
It's winter, so it's a little slow, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, I don't know if you saw it. I made like my first loaf of
That's the
sourdough
bee
bread.
chat, Alex. The bee
Huh?
chat, Alex.
Does it have honey in it?
It's not a bread chat.
Yeah.
It's bee
Well,
chat.
I put some cinnamon. No, not cinnamon. What's it?
You harvested your.
Spice
Honey?
on it.
Did you put honey in it?
In it? No, on it. Yes.
Did you harvest your first wheat crop?
No.
Okay.
It's something I'd like to try. I don't think I'll do it, but I'd like to try it. Like a small patch. But yeah, I don't have anything bee related to say much because, well, they're all sleeping.
You should be saying, Bob, I sold 10 jars of honey today. It's Saturday.
Yeah.
When you were looking at that extracting outfit today, Brad, you said there was no pump. We had our big pump go down on us this year in the middle of extracting, but we had one of those Lyson, the big one, the 220 volt, just as a backup. I wasn't sure it would lift the honey up as high as we'd pump it and over to our big tank. It worked like a charm. I was really impressed with that pump.
Okay. Well, pass that along to the guy because he was concerned that, buy this thing, he's going to have to put a lot into pump and whatnot. I mean, a pump at least, I made the point to him that you can use many different wax handling systems, whether you're going to use a heat exchanger and a spin float or a Cowan spinner or even a Maxent spinner like I have, you could probably get away with for a while. But with the way it's set up, if you don't have a pump, you've got a giant paperweight. There's nothing you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
So he's a little concerned about that.
It wouldn't keep up with our progressive capacity pump, but it would more than handle the honey that was coming from our extractor. So I was impressed with it.
So
that's good. I'll pass that along to him. Thanks.
Yeah.
Steve had a question here. I don't think anybody on this screen normally uses fondant.
No.
I'm using some now, but that's just because it was given to me. But nobody else. I don't think, Doug, you don't use fondant on your hives, right?
No.
Nope. I know Brad doesn't.
No.
Alex, do you use fondant?
I used some last year, but maybe strips of 1 pound just to top the bees off, but it probably wasn't necessary. I mean, they get loaded with syrup. They gulped in 6 gallons when I closed them up.
And I know Charlie doesn't use it, and yep. So there you go.
We use very little 2-to-1 syrup. We're usually 1-to-1, and then when we kind of think winter's going to be upon us before long, then we'll put the heavy syrup in just for the last round of feeding. We want 1-to-1 so they keep producing new bees.
Interesting. That's interesting.
There was another thing I was reading, Brad, talking about Nosoma. It's a study in the States, and they found out that it'll spread with wind. They hung strips in a yard where the bees were foraging, and they were getting Nosoma spores on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what's a soma spore?
Nosema.
Oh.
Nosema?
they said they tried it in the lab. They weren't getting any spread in the lab, but there wasn't nearly the air movement.
Yeah. Huh. That is very interesting. And where did you read this? Or
It was on the net. I should have marked it down. It was a study they were doing in the States.
okay. Let me know something about that. Where that was, if you can. If you
Yeah,
can find
I'll
it.
see if I can find it.
That's pretty interesting.
I kind of wondered about that because, like all of our yards, this year we had 7% loss, and just about all of it was in one yard. Like, why did that one yard get
Yeah.
it so bad? Well, I guess, if it's out in the field, spread with wind.
Maybe.
Yeah, don't know.
Question here. How did your spinner do with residue honey? Residue honey. I don't really understand that.
I would say, did it get the honey out of your cappings? I think is what he's trying to ask.
It absolutely did. Now I ran it. The first batch I did, I ran it with that extra window screen they give you, but I took that out right away. Mostly because I'm not concerned with getting the honey completely clean and clear of a little bit of wax. I'm just trying to get the wax dry, so I can take it out, put it in pails, and render it later. So I just run it with the perforated basket that's in it. So there's a little bit of wax comes out, but really hardly any. And that the honey that's coming out goes directly into my honey sump anyway, so it actually gets remixed with the wax that's in the honey sump as soon as it comes out of there. So, but yeah, I'm very impressed. I really am happy that I bought that spinner. I'm going to try to get a small sump made for it this winter, so that I don't have to. I've just been manually entering it, emptying it, and lifting the honey up into the. I just dump it in the extractor actually because it's just easy, and then it runs into the sump from there. So yeah, it worked really well. It's a little pain. I have to pull it out. It's heavy. I have to pull it out from under the cap or take the cover off it and pick the wax out of it and put it in a pail. I'll do that because it does a good job. The proof will be in the pudding, though. I haven't rendered the wax yet. And once I see how many pails of wax I have compared to how many pails of honey that I get out of the wax once I melt it, that'll really be the numbers to tell you how that spinner is actually doing.
Well, the only
I
thing I
used the press. It didn't take that much out of the honey or out of the wax. There was a lot of honey left in it. Sorry, Charlie.
That's all right. The only thing I really did bee wise today, I don't know. Several weeks ago, I drained my bottling tank of the stuff from the honey from last year, and then I added, I'll say, 150 some pounds of honey in there of the new stuff. And then when it continued on out of my hot box, I added another 110 pounds or so. Got the tank filled back up. And of course, put more buckets in my hot box to keep it from crystallization and that kind of stuff. So that's sort of my main goal. So I don't get any, I don't know, my honey will crystallize like applesauce. It'll get that kind of heavy crystals in there.
Slushy, yeah.
Slushy.
Yeah.
And then when it gets there,
talk about that spinner. When I took the basket out of that spinner, there was a good inch or more of kind of, it almost looked like Jello pudding. It was kind of set up in there. So I think next year I'm going to run some kind of a small heater underneath that spinner just to keep the honey warm, and so it runs out better. The bottom of the spinner is not sloped at all, so the honey doesn't really completely run out of there. I think they need to address all of those issues in that spinner. It's not very well designed in the exit. Doesn't have a very good exit strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, Norman. No, making honey is not that easy, but I mean, it just I really enjoy my bottling tank. I've only had it for I think I got it up and about a year ago, I guess it's been. And my main goal is I always had problems with crystallization, and I had my honey in 5-gallon buckets, and then I'd have to take the 5-gallon bucket and I'd have to put it in a water bath on the stove, and then you have to sit there and stir it as it melts, and not, so you don't burn it or anything like that, and keep the temperature down. And if I can alleviate all those extra steps and put it in a hot box, which is a converted refrigerator like Bob's converting his that he got here this week, and then take those buckets and pour it into my 25-gallon bottling tank, which is water jacketed it, and I can keep a lot more honey stabilized in the liquid form. And so far so good this year. And
I think Norman means, and a lot of people call it a spinner, so I'll give you that. When someone asks me about my spinner, I'm thinking wax spinner, but you're talking about my extractor, which again, a lot of people call it a spinner. It's a pretty old. It's likely not far from the 60s. I think it's probably from the early 70s. I don't have a good bead on when everything changed from stainless or from galvanized to stainless, but it wasn't really that long ago in certainly in my lifetime. So because it's a stainless extractor, I'm thinking early 1970s, 1972, 73, but that's just a guess on my part. It's pretty old, but she goes good, and it's
Older than I
it's
am.
a stone axe reliable, as one of my friends says. If there's no electronic brain box to wonder, I wonder why it doesn't work, and there's all kinds of black magic going on. It's just got that good old stone axe reliable 3-speed transmission, and if it don't work, you just look at it and you know why it doesn't work, and then you can set to fixing it.
Part of the problem with that wax spinner, Brad, the bottom has a flange all the way around it, hasn't it? That doesn't let it drain.
Are you talking in the basket or in the tank?
Yeah, in the basket.
Yeah, the basket has a flange. It's a kind of an angle system at the bottom, and it doesn't. I find that if I spin it long enough, though, the honey, because when it goes to the outside, it actually does come up a bit, and it will go through the basket. But the tank actually has that. It sits in an angle iron flange on the outside, and therefore they didn't put the outlet low enough on the tank, because they're relying on this angle iron kind of a piece on the outside. So it's just a kind of a poor design. I think they took the easy way out and caused it to not work as well. And what happens is the honey builds up underneath, and then it kind of comes into contact with the basket. And when you turn it on, it doesn't want to start up. It takes forever to start up, and it's really hard on the motor.
Yeah. Our older system, we had the wax spinner, Maxent wax spinner. We had the Maxent sump and the 30 frame Maxent extractor. We wanted them both dumping into the sump, but they designed them the spinners were both too low. We couldn't dump them into the sump. We had to build something underneath them, lift them high enough so they would drain. You'd have thought when they're designing these things they'd have made them all compatible.
You'd think. Obviously, they're not designing an entire system. They're just designing pieces.
Yep.
There's a question for you, Charlie. Well, it's a question for
sitting for
anybody, I
decades.
suppose, but it's from something you said.
Well, I was just telling him where I had, keeping in 5-gallon pails. He says it must be sitting there for decades. I don't think so. Honey will crystallize pretty darn fast, depending on the sugar content in it,
Yeah, the glucose fructose ratio.
and also the temperature. I mean, you can set it. I mean, right now I got buckets sitting in the house here, and some rooms are a little cooler than others, and you get even at 60 or 70 degrees, and it has a certain percentage of sugar in it, it'll crystallize quite a bit. I bought some honey from one guy, and shoot, I think Brad has seen it when they went to Bee Made or whatever it is up there, where you can have a block of honey that's solid as like a brick. It'll crystallize that hard. And I had one in a bucket where a part of the bucket was liquid and the other part was solid. I had to put it in a water bath and do it to where I was there all the time, just kind of poking at it to see whether or not it would, as it was melting.
But to speak to Norman's question about how it sits for quite some time, is it okay? Yeah, it is if stored properly, if stored in a sealed container. When I became a beekeeper, my siblings passed along to me a 2.5-gallon pail of honey that my dad had. And he had that honey since I think the late 1980s.
Oh, wow.
And and it's just, been sitting in somebody's house ever since. And I opened it up and it was, I don't know if it was canola honey, but it probably was. And of course it's set up. It was granulated. And I tried it. It was fine. And it was actually a fairly nice, naturally creamed honey. So I used it for creamed seed to make a batch of creamed honey. Yeah, it was fine. If it's sealed up and it can't absorb atmospheric moisture, because that's what it tends to do, then it's fine if the moisture content is low enough.
Yeah, as far as selling it, I'll harvest it this year, and within a year's time, it's all sold. But I've had it.
Mine sells that fast too.
Yeah.
But if it
but
if
when
it didn't, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
When I first started out, number one, I didn't have a hot box, which is a refrigerator. I put a heat lamp in there and a thermostat to keep it at a certain temperature so it doesn't crystallize. All I had was buckets, and they just sat there in the living room floor. And then I would pour those buckets into a bottling bucket with a, what do you call that thing? The valve at the bottom, honey gate. And, just like today, I had 2 buckets. One in my hot box, I put 2 buckets on the bottom of the refrigerator, and then there's a bucket up top. And it kept it at 110 degrees in there, the atmosphere. That top bucket was nice and warm. And when I poured into my bottling tank through a stainless steel sieve, micron, I don't know, whatever that 300 micron sieve or whatever, 400, whatever it is, I pour it through there just in case there's anything that might be caught, like a piece of pollen or whatever, a bee part. And it poured right through, no problem. And because it's like Brad says, you warm it up good and hot, it goes through those sieves real quick. And then the second bucket that I brought up was the bucket that was underneath, sitting on the bottom. Well, it wasn't up in the atmosphere because I don't have a fan to blow it around, where it was extra hot up there. And I brought that up there, and yes, it was liquefied and it didn't have any really crystallization about it that you could see. And I poured it, but it would go through the sieve a lot slower. And then while I was cleaning up, letting that sieve drain it had about a half inch to an inch of honey in there. And I'll say there was some slight crystallization particles in that sieve that the sieve caught. And I'm swishing it around with a rubber spatula. And basically, I looked around. Everything was clean, so I just went ahead and dumped it in my bottling tank and cleaned off the sieve by scraping all the excess honey.
That's your stainless sieve.
Yeah.
Hit that with your heat gun, Charlie. You'll melt those crystals right away. They'll go
Really?
right through. Yeah, and you won't hurt the sieve. We do that with the plastic strainers that we have, but we have to be very careful not to overheat them. That stainless one, yeah, you can hit that with a heat gun, and that'll clean her right up.
No, but what I was getting at is even though the whole 5-gallon bucket was liquefied really good, there was still some minute crystallization particles in there because it wasn't, I'll say, an extra 5 degrees hotter.
Right. We deal with that all the time when we're extracting. We'll put the honey goes into my melting tank, and then I raise the temperature. Yeah, Mr. Cuddles here needs his attention. We raise the temperature, and we have to get it, right in that margin, because even though the honey is very warm, the honey goes through the strainer really nice. The strainer clogs up with these random little crystals that come out of there. So until we get it right up to that specific point, then we can open the valve and it just goes straight through the strainer, no problem.
Charlie, you might need an interior car warmer in your fridge. It's a little fan forced heater. You probably have to come to Canada to find one.
I've
They
never
might
heard
not know
of
about those down there.
Oh, was that?
Never heard of it.
They're just a little 1500 watt heater and they have a fan in them.
Yes, is it ceramic heater or something?
Some of them probably are. Some are just coiled. But they use them up here in the wintertime. Keeps the interior of the car a little bit warm.
Yep.
Well, isn't that what the heater in the car is for to begin with?
No,
Yeah,
when your car is parked overnight or something.
All right, so it will freeze to where you can't even get in your car or something at night?
No, actually, it just makes it comfortable to get into.
Oh.
It's like sitting in an ice.
Keep the frost off the window and stuff, and yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Your car isn't 30 below when you get in it; it's only 5 below.
Yeah, when it gets that cold here at night, man, you get in your car in the morning, your butt freezes right to the seat. You can't even.
I mean, I know that you guys have like for gasoline motors, you even still have block heaters for gasoline motors to plug them up so you can get them started.
Oh yeah.
And I know up in Alaska they have parking lots where you pull in your parking lot and you plug your car in, so they'll start.
I had my starter freeze up once on my car. I had to take the heat gun to it and just leave it on. I hooked it up right next to the starter and left it on for 5 minutes before I could start the car.
Well, those block heaters are from keeping the water from expanding and cracking the block, right?
No.
The block heaters for keep the warm hot or the motor hot. Turn you got a hot mic here, Bob.
Yeah, you're pretty hot.
Why, thank you, Brad.
You're pretty hot, Bob. I can do it for you.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, it's better.
All right.
Oh yeah, that's not a freeze thing. That's just a ease of starting thing. It's not nearly as important today with bigger batteries, better engines, synthetic oil, stuff like that. Most cars will start any weather. However, it's really hard on them because you don't get lubrication the way you should. So plug it in, keep it a little bit warm, and then it's not as hard on. I hear people all the time, I never plug my car and it always starts. And I just put a mental note, never buy a car from this guy. Because the engine's going to be toast by the time he's done with it.
Well, you plug your diesel in and so it'll start.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like around here. If it's one of them situations where we have, let's say a stretch of weather where it's, I'll say 0 Celsius or something like that. If you want them tractors or whatever to start, you got to plug them in.
Well, again, not many of my vehicles wouldn't start, down to minus 20 C or even colder. But that's not my point. I'm plugging my vehicles in now just because it's hard on engines to start them cold, and I care to take care of my engines. That's all. I don't like to start my diesel because I don't use it a lot in the winter, so I don't plug it in all the time. If I have a cause to use it, I'll plug it in the day before or the night before. But if something comes up an emergency and I have to start that engine when it's cold, I just cringe. And I hate myself for it, but sometimes you have to do it. And it starts. It's not a matter of not starting. It's just you want to kill that engine or be nice to
So
it.
the glow plug really is not effective enough.
Well, like I
It'll-
say, it's not a matter of not starting. It'll start.
Oh,
It's a matter
okay.
of being really hard on that engine by
Yeah.
starting it so cold.
I mean, I got this diesel out here in this one truck, and you turn the key and the glow plug comes up and it goes on and it turns itself off, and then you can start it, and it starts, but it's it's like he's like, well, we got 3 cylinders
Unhappy.
running here, and
It's
never
unhappy
4,
with
and
it.
then finally we get up to 6.
Right. That's right.
Whereas if you have the block heater plugged in, and that
Yeah.
block or that motor block is nice and toasty warm, that thing kicks off like it's 80 degrees in the summertime.
And that's to get in the physics of it, with a diesel engine, you not only have a far higher compression engine, so they're more difficult to turn over to begin with, but a diesel engine fires on heat. Like, it needs heat to fire. Well, a gas engine doesn't need heat to fire. It needs air, gas, and spark. That's what you need to make a gas engine fire. Diesel engine, you need a little bit of heat to make it fire because it fires on compression, not spark. It doesn't use electricity to fire. So that's kind of the physics behind that. But again, my diesel, it'll start. That's not a problem. It's whether I feel good about myself and I want my truck to last 5 years or 10, right?
circulating heater works awful good in the wintertime.
Circulating
You can
heaters are
start
great.
your vehicle and the temperature gauge will already be up on it.
And thank you for not bringing up a certain brand of vehicle, Brad.
Well, I'm about to.
Oh,
Norman says here, and I'm not going to bring up a brand, but I am going to say, they're different, and some of them really do suck bad.
What are you talking about? Chevrolets over there?
oh,
I'll do it. I'll bring it
I
up.
didn't say it. I didn't say it. But that's the truth. Some do not start well in the winter. Some don't start well in the summer.
Yeah, it's like I got that New Holland tractor.
like
I don't know
that
what
color.
kind of. It's got that diesel in there. Now it doesn't have a plug to plug it up, and you turn the block heater on, and it will start.
Yeah. Yeah, that little Kubota is a 3-cylinder diesel. It has a glow plug system and a block heater if I need it. And I'll glow that. I glow that tractor in the summer when I use it. If it hasn't been running, if it's the first time I use it, I'll glow it for 5 seconds. It jumps right to life.
Now I got an old loader here that we use for logs, and it's a 282 International diesel, and they don't put them in. They don't use them anymore, and that is the worst starting engine ever made. And now you talk to people that had them back in the tractor days when they first come out, they would, crack heads with them and everything else. And I don't care if it's 90 degrees in the middle of summertime, you still have to glow plug that thing to get it started.
Yeah. So that's an example of who you don't want to buy a vehicle from. Will my truck start at minus 40 without being plugged in? I don't know. Never done it.
The worst starting engine I ever had, Charlie, was a Flathead 6. If there was a cloud went by, it was too cold for it to start, and if the sun was out, it was too hot.
Now, was that a Cummins?
No, it was used to put them in old Plymouth and Dodge cars. Flathead 6 cylinders, cargo trucks.
That's what's in Ian's combine.
Well, that's the problem.
He's
It's
been
a
working
it's a Dodge. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, they were a terrible motor. They'd run
go ahead.
forever. But
Hey, notice I didn't say a word, Brad.
I'm not on brand, but there definitely some engines don't start as well as others.
I did not make a comment to Charlie's comment. That's what I was meaning.
Yeah. Slant
But
6.
Dodge and Ram are different.
You're not gonna beat it. You're not gonna kill a slant 6. There's only one way to kill a slant 6.
Well, I had an original Cummins 6-cylinder, in a Dodge truck, and that was a super good motor till they, put all this pollution crap on there, and it just killed it.
Yeah, that's what's in my diesel, and it's the last year before they started making it bigger and putting more
Monkeyed
pollution
around.
crap on it. Yeah,
more cancer-causing stuff for California.
more cancer-causing stuff.
can't,
That's
can't
right.
buy one of those here. Causes too much cancer.
So I don't know. We got on diesel engines for some reason because it's
Well, I
not
got
beekeeping
admonished
season.
for talking about bread.
You did, but it wasn't the host that did it.
Yeah, I don't know how we went down that road.
I don't know. There's certain people always want to do this brand thing,
Again,
I
I
don't
didn't
get
say
it.
a word. I'm just laughing. I thought of a joke in
know.
my head.
Duramax fan slapping any other brand has got to be pretty hypocritical, if you ask me.
No,
But that's just if you want to play the game, then I'll comment. But
Norman, I just don't have much to talk about. I don't have snow. I don't have a diesel. I don't have a tractor.
you could talk about bread.
I could talk about bread. I used to have a bread distributor.
no,
Shit.
you made $500 in breads today.
I
Or
did make some
500
bread.
breads.
Honey, and that was honey bread.
Yeah.
That was the best kind of bread. Green
Yeah,
and
that
green.
I was at that bee meeting, or it was just a gathering from the Baltimore beekeepers, and we were talking about the cream honey and what we've been talking about the last couple sessions.
Tell them all they have to do is watch the chat. They'd learn a whole shit ton of stuff.
Well, now on your reefers and hot honey, did you put in the whole pepper in there, right?
Well, I bought dehydrated or dried peppers, and then Jason was talking about the pepper powder. So afterwards, I added the pepper powder in it, and I mean it's all right, but it wants to float, right? So you got to keep stirring and stirring.
Well, he was asking about the moisture in the pepper. I said, I thought you stuck it in there and let them soak or something.
That was dry, but on my fresh pepper, everybody's got this moisture thing. You can combat moisture in honey. I mean, people do it all the time. They dehydrate their honey when the moisture content's too high. It's no different. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's going to go up higher than what it was when you added the honey in there. But you can do it that way, or you can add lower moisture content honey to it and draw the whole batch down. Now, sometimes that takes a lot, depending on how much you want to do. You might not want that big a batch. This time I just dehydrated it. But it's not that big a deal. Just you got to be patient. You can't, it's like cream and honey, right? You can't just put it in the mixer for a day and then bottle it up. It doesn't work that way. It's a longer process.
That's what I use to make hot honey. It's just dehydrated habaneros.
There's a
Remove the
definite
stem, chop them up, and done.
there's definitely a different taste between the dried honey or the dried peppers and the fresh peppers. It's a different, you get the fruity taste of the peppers when you use fresh peppers. And I don't get anything but straight heat off of the Reapers, but you don't taste the flavor of the Reaper. You just taste the heat, so I don't know if it's the same thing on, other peppers, but the fresh.
Didn't you say it crystallizes
and the Reaper honey, I made those 2 batches on the same day. One had dried ingredients and one had fresh ingredients, and the Reaper honey crystallizes way faster than the fresh pepper honey. So it's noticeably different. I could warm them both up. 2 weeks later, the Reaper honey has got crystals about halfway up.
Well, it kind of makes sense since the Reapers are dry. They suck out some of the moisture, I guess.
Which is a bad thing when you're selling at retail, because people get it home and a week later it's a block, or 2 weeks later. So
the solution would be creaming it.
Creamed Reaper honey.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a little. Oh man.
It's ass that sticks to your tongue.
That's ass blaster written all over that.
If you,
Sorry.
And that's, I don't like. I hate to say I don't like the Reaper honey. It was designed for one purpose, just straight heat. That was it, right? That's the only reason I put it in there. But it's not. It is not flavorful, just hot to me anyway. But jalapenos and habaneros and all that, when you use the fresh, it seems to be a little nicer honey.
I have kind of a crazy question, and it's based on an observance of mine. We talk about the safe moisture level in honey, and I think the agreed level is approximately 18%. And I do know that varies with nectar source. So let's use 18%. You put peppers, whatever peppers you want, and this honey that I have here, that's hot honey, it had jalapeno peppers. And it's obviously, I haven't tested it, but it's obviously pretty runny. So it has elevated moisture content. It's sat in my cupboard now for years, and it's fine. So what I'm curious is, just like adding something like Pro Health to my syrup in the bee yard to make it last longer and not go bad, does adding the constituents that are in the pepper to the honey allow it to sit at a higher moisture content without going bad?
Highly likely, because the plants use this stuff as an insecticide or a repellent. It might have antibacterial properties in and itself. I could just Google it, I guess. Does capsaicin have antibacterial properties? Let's find out.
Yeah,
I think it might have something to do with the acidity level.
I think so.
But I've had it the other way. My first ever batch was definitely explosive. In a plastic jar. So I learned my lesson on that and brought the moisture down.
Yeah.
If you're using a powder to flavor it, it should crystallize faster. That should make the nuclei of the crystal, really, the powder.
Yes, it does have antimicrobial and antibacterial properties.
Peppers?
Yes, capsaicin specifically in all hot peppers.
What they think of next, Norman says, okay, so here's what we think of next. Dehydrated honey. Think fruit roll-ups or something like that. Think a sheet of honey that you can roll up into a snack. I've seen mention on the forums of people doing that with a fruit dehydrator, and I did try it, and I maybe wasn't patient enough. It didn't work for me, but I did have something happen. I'm actually going to show this on a video sometime. I had something happen in my warming cabinet. Those who know my warming cabinet, it's very large. It'll hold 12 5-gallon pails, and the heater is at the bottom. So the light bulbs are at the bottom, the light bulbs and the fans. So they're underneath where the honey sits. And over the years of using it, there's been honey leak for one reason or another into the bottom of the cabinet. And the bottom of the cabinet is a little bit of a, I'm going to say, a container where the stuff doesn't run out. It's maybe about 3/4 of an inch. So I've got some boards around the outside and then some plywood. So the honey that leaked doesn't run out. It just sits in there. And I'd never noticed it until just the other day. Something fell down into the bottom, and I thought, oh no, it's going to be covered in honey now. Well, it wasn't, because that honey, it was like it was a sheet of frozen water. It was totally flat, glassy, and hard as a polyurethane table. And it wasn't even cold. It was, room temperature.
Ooh.
So it has sat there long enough that is dehydrated because of the heat from the lights and the air movement through the cabinet. It's dehydrated that honey enough that it's completely polymerized in the bottom of the cabinet.
There you go.
So
now we can have honey
can have
countertops.
honey countertops.
Only
That's
takes
right.
27 years to cure.
I've tried it in a dehydrator too, Brad, and had no luck.
No
But
luck,
I've been in restaurants where they have a little package of dehydrated honey for your tea.
So that's crystals.
Yeah, really fine.
Yeah,
Just
I've
powder.
heard of that. Powdered honey. Yes, I've
Yeah.
heard of that. I wonder how a guy would do that.
Take your
I
polymer
couldn't-
and blend it up.
Taste it. Well, I could get down on my knees and lick
Well,
it, I suppose.
if you could dehydrate that honey, you could make honey lifesavers.
I could.
Just get a hammer and chisel.
Well, don't forget that it's not exactly clean. There's all kinds of crap in the bottom of that melter cabinet, or the warming cabinet. So it's not
It'll
exactly
be
something I want to chip
flushed.
off and eat. It's kind of gross, but it's in good enough shape that it's perfectly hard and smooth. It's amazing.
So has the wood absorbed all the moisture out of it then, Brett?
I would think that's certainly one of the actions, is the wood absorbing moisture, but it's right above the heater lights. Now, I do have sheet metal on the bottom of that so that the heater lights are, heating the sheet metal instead of just the wood directly. I don't want the thing to catch fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's right above the heater lights by, say, 4 inches. And plus I have fans, so there's always air movement in there as well. So yeah, it shocked me.
I don't know. Russell says freeze dry. I don't know whether that would work or not.
Yeah,
that
freeze
might-
drying is a way to do something like that. Maybe that's how they make that powdered honey.
Yeah.
So
Brad, did you show everybody what I found in my yard today?
I didn't.
Let's see.
You want to bring it up?
Yeah, I'll bring it up. Hold on.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
And then I went out to see if it was still there, and 3 deer were in my backyard. It's like Noah's Ark around here today.
Something going on back there.
Yeah, they're probably all trying to eat chicken for dinner.
Mutual Voma's Wild Kingdom at Bob's house.
Yeah, I've seen the chicken.
It's eyeballing that chicken. That's such a cool animal.
Isn't that a beautiful bird?
That
It's so well camouflaged, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just
It's
looks like a
perfect.
stump sitting there.
And then it flew off and went to another perch, but it was nice to
watching
see
you.
stuff like that. It wasn't scared of me. I was worried it was going to swoop down and try to get my rooster, so I put the rooster in the coop. And
No, that's owls are nocturnal.
but I bet you they like chicken.
Oh, not bad. He's probably
Oh, yeah.
keeping the mice down around your house, though.
Yep, that's what I
Yeah.
told my wife. She was trying to shoo it away. I said, I got one rooster. If it kills the rooster, sorry, rooster, but if it's keeping mice away, that's better.
It's like a barn owl.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just took that a picture on my phone, so
That's a
zoomed
nice
way
picture,
in.
especially the backdrop with the colors.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Really
It
something.
blends right in.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm going to shut this down for tonight. Thanks everybody for showing up and contributing. It was a really nice conversation in both the live chat and the on-screen crowd. Thanks for everybody joining in. It was nice to have Ian on as well earlier. So I'm going to say goodnight. And what's our next chat, guys? Who's on next? Probably Tuesday.
Tim and Hannah have
Tim
Sunday.
and Hannah or tomorrow night. That's
No,
right. Got
Saturday.
line bees.
Sunday night.
Sunday night.
Wait. Oh, it is. Yeah.
It is
I was
Saturday.
thinking today was Friday.
That's right. And
No,
and then
today's
Tuesday night. Are you on Tuesday, Bob?
Yep, should be on Lee's channel though.
Lee's channel.
Should be on Lee's. So maybe Monday
Yeah,
night.
Bee Farm.
Depends how things go.
And always stay tuned to Bob Walker Bee Ranch. You never know when Bob's going to show up on a live.
Never know.
Never know. Okay. Thanks a lot, everybody.
They'll
Good night.
Take care and have fun.
Good night, everyone.